Joseph, are you ready to talk about Halo?
I guess I'm as ready as I'll ever be.
So this is episode 6, which
Correct.
means we have 3 more. We're on the home stretch. We're on the home stretch.
I was so sad when I saw this episode and I saw that it was 45 or 48
was
minutes
it?
long. It was 48 minutes long. That's what it was. It was 48 minutes long. And I was like, man, I think this show's sweet spot would be 25 minutes.
25, 35 minutes, something like that.
25 minutes.
25 minutes. I don't know if it would make it any better.
Oh, it would, because then you don't have to sit through it for as long.
Yeah, but you'd still have to, you know what I mean?
They would have to condense it down, but I mean, I think they could take a lot out of the show. And
they did this week. I'm sure you noticed. I mean, Kwan Ha made one appearance, kinda.
Did she?
That's the thing is, like, I couldn't quite tell if that was just from the first episode and they digitally like added her into that scene, or if they really had her show up to do that. I really probably what happened is that they had the list of screenshots that they needed, so they got that the day that they were doing the first episode, like recording for the first episode. Anyway, so yeah, for the most part,
they had basically like a $10 million budget for each episode, right?
Right.
90 million. There's 9 episodes. And you think they could have easily cut out all the Quan crap, right? Cut that out, trimmed out a lot of the characters that they have in the show, and really focus the narrative for a good season 1. You know what I mean? Like world building and then the lore building, your main plot or your couple of main plots for the, that season and, gearing for the following season, right? Season 2. But it comes back down to they did too much. The writers tried to do too much. Too many plots.
Well, and it was one of the things that I'd actually again, these are always little small things that I'm trying to look for. I was kind of happy that they just focused on one thing this week.
Yes.
I mean, there's lots of little plot lines going on, but it was all UNSC.
Yep.
We didn't go anywhere else. We weren't dealing with other people. Now, of course, that is a problem in the sense of that's less development for everyone else. I mean, like, the Covenant weren't even in this episode, were they?
They weren't.
Again.
If they were, it was so brief it was not noticeable, right?
Yeah. I mean, they were in the previously on or whatever. And it's really funny because I saw a couple videos, I think it was like TikTok or something, of people like celebrating that the last episode had action in it, and they're like, yes, this is what Halo's supposed to be. And I'm like, I mean, I guess if you got to try to be excited about this, them finally having some action in an episode is nice, even though I'll still say that I think it wasn't done very well. I don't think the direction for that action was very good. I think they could have done quite a bit better with that.
Yeah, the choreography could have been better too. And
yeah, well, it's funny. I was watching Ant-Man and the Wasp earlier before we recorded this because I'm going back through all the Marvel movies again, and I was just kind of paying attention to a couple of the action scenes in that, and it was like I had said last week. One of the things that's different between someone who has like an understanding of how to film an action scene and someone who doesn't is that you understand from point to point. Like if someone's shooting and you see like in Ant-Man and the Wasp, there's a part where like she flies up into the chandelier and they're all shooting and you see the contact with the chandelier. It's not just a bunch of Marines running and firing and you're not really aware of what's going on. Like there's not a connection with the action that's going on.
Right.
This happens a lot, especially in, I guess, I want to say cheaper productions, even though I don't think $10 million an episode is really that cheap. I mean, there's full-length movies that cost less than that look better than this show does.
It's utilizing it in the right place, right? Between practical versus CGI, and then the actors and the acting in it, and then the writers. And there's ways to craft a storyline on a budget to where it's really good. I mean, I wonder how much an episode season 1 of Game of Thrones was.
Yeah, look it up.
I will.
I'm trying to, man, it's been so long since I've watched Game of Thrones. I couldn't even tell you Like I'd have to go back and like look at all of the CG work that they did in it and see if there was actually anything in it that was like, ooh, this doesn't look so good. Even though that was 10 years ago.
Yeah. Which, I mean, that is a good point. So, inflation and everything like that.
And they're different types of,
They had basically a budget of roughly $6 million per episode in season 1. So it cost around $60 million to make it over the course of its 10 episode run for season 1.
Yeah. Well, here's the thing. So it's a little bit different just because it's a sci-fi show, and you would expect them to have CG in it. I could have sworn there was something in this episode that looked really ugly, and I don't even remember what it was. There's some really ugly shots in this episode that we'll get to. And there's a bunch of people making like ugly faces in this one because when I was looking for screenshots for the thumbnail, I was like, there's way more in this one than there have been in the past. So anyway, let's go ahead and jump into the episode. We don't have to spend like too much time with this. It's pretty basic for the most part. So here's Sad Boy Chief, Master Cheeks, as he's lovingly called by the internet at this point.
Yes, he is. No cheeks in this episode. So 2 episodes in a row.
2 episodes so far. Yeah.
No cheeks, man. I'm kind of disappointed.
There is some other stuff going on.
Yeah, there is.
So we picked up. This is basically right after the last episode. I think they're back on Reach at this point, or they're headed back to Reach, and he's like covered in all the alien or the Covenant blood. It's like all purple in here. Of course, he doesn't have his helmet on. I don't think he puts his helmet on for the entire episode, which is really frustrating. And he barely I don't think he wears a suit at all in this episode, except for the very beginning. He's got it on.
It's too uncomfortable.
And then Kai is like all messed up.
Yes, she is.
Right. So this is a point of contention for me. All right. You see how like she looks like she's got all these bullet holes and these bruises and everything all over her, right? Now, there's an argument to be made for why in the opposite direction of what I'm about to say. But I pulled up a picture of what she looked like after she got attacked in the last episode. All right. And the 1-to-1.
I'm glad you thought the same thing.
Okay.
Where you're going with this?
The 1-to-1 for this doesn't make a lot of sense. So let me see if I can get this pulled up. Here is a picture of her when Master Chief is going to save her. So she's already been attacked by all of the aliens. The only thing that you can say about her right here is that she's kind of dirty. There's no burns, no holes, no nothing, right? And I get it. It's like her shield came down. And she does have armor on. But for her to be as damaged as she is in some of these other, in some of these shots, right? It's
just weird because
it's a consistency thing for me.
Exactly. Continuity and consistency. And regarding, it looks like she has the bullet wounds, but
you can see all these little
her
like
Kevlar is busted from bullets, right?
Yeah.
But
she's all bruised up or whatever, which I guess makes sense. Like that would still happen even if you had armor on and you were getting attacked. That makes sense,
but
she's very bloody.
Bullet holes
also
does not, that because our armor didn't show that it was also penetrated.
Yeah.
So I thought it was a weird scene. The bruising I didn't so much mind. The blood, okay, maybe you got a scrape or something, I guess.
Maybe, but like how is she so it's like, and she's like writhing in pain or whatever. I'm just confused. Okay, this is the thing. It's mostly consistency, and I have a lot. I actually have a lot of problems with the consistency in this episode. There's technology, and again, we talked about it last week, and I'm glad a few people in the comments picked up on it. Like the UNSC and their leadership structure makes no sense.
None.
And dude, they are so incompetent in this episode. It's unbelievable.
Well, it's weird because like I don't know if so to me what it seems like is
here we go.
How to say this? Like even with the main character being Master Chief, right?
Yeah.
It almost seems like that's a position in command and that John 117 like is just a person, but to my understanding of Halo, Master Chief is supposed and John are one and the same, right?
Yeah.
It's not like Master. I mean,
John's just
that's a rank.
John's just his first name.
Yeah, exactly.
So,
but like they're one and the same. Whereas in this show, it makes it feel like two separate. Like it's John 117, and then it's just Master Chief. He's just this rank over here.
Well, that's the thing is, they just call him random. Sometimes they call him John. Sometimes they call him Master Chief. And I don't think they ever call it. It's usually like one or the other, and I guess it depends on who it. I'd have to pay a little more attention to who's calling him what, because I think Cortana pretty much calls him Master Chief all the time. I don't know if she's actually called him John yet. And then Halsey, I'm pretty sure calls him John. And then it could be one of the one consistent things in the show where, depending upon the relationship with him, is what the person calls him, right? And because then you have like all the Covenant, they call him Demon, and that's the name that they use for him there. But I don't know. But I want to get to this next scene, because I'm wondering if you picked up on this too. So after they kind of go through the whole Kai thing, and there's some other conversations going on about it's kind of like, I guess, the political stuff, but we'll get a little bit more into that. Master Chief is talking to Cortana, and you can tell he's like upset. And again, this is one of the things that's where like the acting range is kind of all over the place. Because honestly, I don't, as far as like the acting is concerned in the scene, I don't really have a problem with it. It's more that it still feels out of character for Master Chief to be as emotionally driven in this scene, and not. They want you to think that he's smart, right? But there's like a fallacy with like this story that he tells, right? So he locks Halsey in this room back here. I'm pretty sure it's this one. She's like in there doing her sciencey stuff. Yep. I'm wondering if I can grab a shot of that. Oh, here we go. And so she's in here, and he's locked her in with this like lead pipe, which is like, all right, I guess that's the case. And he starts talking to Cortana about a random guy, and I don't even know if he's ever been introduced before. Like, they give his name. It's possible that whoever they were talking about is like some sort of, it's like an Easter egg or whatever, which is fine. No big deal. I really didn't have a problem with the story. So they talk about how, except for one thing. So they talk about this guy, right? And they talk about how he was like a genius and how he had fail safes for everything, right? And then they said but he didn't have a fail safe for one thing. And do you remember what they said happened to him?
Yeah, he got liquefied.
Yeah, so it was some sort of contamination process, right, that he had overlooked somehow, right? And you go with it. You're like, okay, that's fine. And so then they're like, all right. And so clearly Chief is trying to threaten Halsey. It's pretty clear that he's had it out for her since the previous episode where he had his other like rage-induced moment. But there's a weird thing that happens where they're like, yeah, it's the one thing he never put a failsafe on. And I just thought to myself, but wouldn't they have done that after he had liquefied himself? And again, okay, so this is, okay, if...
But you forget, David, the UNSC just figured out to use the Spartans to interpret and translate the Covenant language. They just figured that out like a few episodes ago. So now it's going to take them a much longer time to figure out the liquefying thing. So,
yeah, this just adds to how incompetent they are. And this is this is a problem, because you don't get the tension of how dangerous the Covenant are if your main protagonist and the organization that he's fighting with are this incompetent all the time. Right? So they go through this whole scene, and again, if they had thought a little bit harder about that story, right? Or if Master Chief had said like, he was great or whatever, but I found a loophole or whatever. So it's just something that they had never realized was a problem. And so it doesn't necessarily make everyone look like an idiot. Master Chief gets shown to be a little more intelligent than everybody else. There's ways to twist that, where if you're going through that in like a writer's room, you'd be like, okay, does this make sense? Like, does this line of logic, does it make sense from beginning to end? And if someone's like, I mean, I literally realized it, I think 2 seconds after that was over. I was like, something's wrong there, right? Like, what is it? And I'm like, wait, wouldn't they have, it's like, think about it, right? In modern day society, if you are in your workplace and some sort of horrific accident happens and someone dies.
They would remedy that.
Yes.
I mean, as soon as they played that and he was going through that, I'm like, similar thought to you. Okay, they're trying to show how competent and, you know, wise, right, intelligent Master Chief is.
Uh-huh.
But yet, if this dude got killed like this, the first thing you do is fix that issue.
Yes, we're talking about Marines.
And they're supposed to be, not just that, but we're talking about, what's the year again? 2600, 25,
yeah,
like late 2500?
The distant future.
Yeah. But, I mean, they are using AK-47, so, I mean, it just goes to show in the hands of better writers, this would have been noticed. You know what I mean?
I do appreciate...
Kind of like Season 8 of not as bad as Season 8 Game of Thrones with the coffee cup.
There's a lot of problems with that. That's another conversation. But I will appreciate one of our commenters mentioned that they're fine with the AK-47 existing in this world because they were like, if anything from the past was going to survive and still work in the future, it'd probably be the AK-47 because you can literally like push that thing through the dirt like crazy and it'll still fire.
Oh, nice.
So it's pretty reliable. I mean, it's why they get used in third world countries as like a primary weapon all the time because they work. Mm-hmm. So that scene basically ends after that.
My favorite part too is before that they're taking a sympathetic female villain, Mackie, taking her directly to Reach.
Yeah.
Why would you take her to your home?
Yeah. Oh, this part right here. Okay, so yeah, they're looking at her, right? So there's two things because you're correct. It's that, right? Why is she not in a prison cell? And we'll get into it later in the episode because, again, they're completely incompetent. She literally asks Master Chief at one point, am I a prisoner?
Yep.
And the answer should have been yes. Also, what are you doing in this really nice apartment?
It did, like, they don't do a good job of showing Master Chief's intelligence.
Yeah. He's completely emotional all the time.
And she's completely in control of her emotions.
Yeah, it's like that dumb little thing in his spine was the only thing that was keeping him logical, and it's the same thing
with Kai too. She's overtly emotional as well, and it's like they still have their military training. Like they're the elite of the elite. And again, as we said before in the previous reviews, you know, equilibrium is a great understanding to come back of someone coming into their emotions from having them suppress.
And
from
again,
a pill, literally.
Yeah, and being in a similar society where you would need to try to keep that in check as much as possible, right? And then what's so great about equilibrium is that his emotions ultimately lead to him being better.
Yes.
Like that's one of the plot points in that movie is that he gets to a place where it's like everything that he's gone through adds to his ability to fight.
Right, and it's not when he's coming as he's coming to sense his emotions, right? He's not annoying. In this, I just feel like Kai and Master Chief are both annoying.
Yeah, she's starting to grate on me a little bit. She's got this like really snarky attitude now. It's like it started off okay, right? Where she was coming out of this thing and learning, and you're like, all right, that's pretty good. And now she's super snarky. Nobody cares that she's got this like color in her hair. They're all just like, I guess it's fine. I mean, no one's really talked to her about it besides Chief. So
exactly. Well, I think with Kai, what threw me off is that she still has this military training, and yet she has a emotional spasm out on the field because she's seeing Marines get killed.
Yeah, it's weird. So I wanted to talk about this real quick because I thought this scene was really funny because all I could think about is how these actors are literally just standing in an empty, dark room talking to each other. Like, none of this is here. I mean, don't get me wrong. Like, okay, I don't understand. Again, you have technology like this, right? But then there's other things that you're not able to do. Like, for instance, like with Kai, right? She is hurting. It's like you don't have something like a painkiller. Like, she's a freaking Spartan, and you don't have something that you can give to her to like calm her down while she's screaming and yelling on this thing. It's the future. And there's some more instances of this in this episode. But the main thing was like I was kind of cracking up because I was like, these people are standing in an empty room pretending those screens are in front of them.
Good job acting on that. You know, I think you're right too, and it's stuff like that pulls you out of the world. Mm-hmm. And you know, you're not, you know, just escaping. You're now completely out of it.
Yeah, it was weird because they were in I'm pretty sure that might have been a repurposed room that they used for like everyone sitting around a table in a previous episode. I bet I could go back and they're probably somewhat similar shots. Okay, so then we're getting introduced to what I'm pretty sure are some new characters. They may have popped up, talking in the previous episode, but they are also kind of crappy people. So we have like
more crappy people,
the good crappy people and the bad crappy people, but like she's supposed to be sort of like sinister, and I guess she is working directly with the UNSC because they want to take control of the Spartan program. Like that's their goal. They're trying to consolidate power.
Yeah. Straight command.
Yeah. And so she's talking to angry Indian lady, who I'm trying to get. There we go. That's close enough. Who still only has like one emotion for the most part. And I think it's really funny because I've kind of figured out why that is. I'm wondering if I can get a shot of her. Okay. She's got like angry eyebrows.
Yes, she does.
And I was like, I didn't notice that before. And I was like, oh, man.
I don't know if that's necessarily what's causing it.
Yeah.
Right. I think it's just how her character's been written, and then maybe it's the acting too.
Yeah.
But all the time she's just angry.
So you got that going on, and so this is the like little bit of like Game of Thrones politics, which again, in a better show, might be interesting because I was like, oh, there's like kind of these different factions within the UNSC who have different motives and agendas for what they want. It's like, and again, if everyone was a little less of one-dimensional and you saw some of the good in some of these other characters or them working together, like caring for each other despite their problems, being a little bit more flexible and showing some of that rather than it just being like, well, I'm an angry person. Well, I'm evil science lady that no one really knows yet that I'm evil.
Well, and here's the thing. You just said in the hands of a better writing crew, that would work, right?
Yeah.
And I don't really care so much about the politics side of it, but I probably would feel better about it if you didn't also have the political side of Madrigal, right? If you had just wiped that completely out, you could have easily just focused on, you're doing it anyway, just easily focus on that, right? And again, that's what I mean. They're trying to do too much at one time. And
for sure.
So if you're going to show the political side of the UNSC, at least just focus on that and not Madrigal and everything else, Kwan's whole storyline, everything else going on with that, or at least, you can do that in the next season or something like that. But again, I don't even really care so much to see the political side of the UNSC, to be straight honest with it, at least in that regard, like this conflict between both of them. Now, again, that's probably, budget reasons why you have to do that. And so I understand you can't have the Covenant in every episode because of the CGI involved in that. But
well, it's more of an issue with that. I think that would be great as a subplot, is that you have an organization that's trying to deal with the Spartans, and so it's like you're showing more of how incompetent this group is despite the looming threat. The problem is the Covenant don't feel like a threat.
Yep.
And so everything just sort of falls flat because you don't, other than this like scene where they kind of got stomped in the last episode, right?
Mm-hmm.
But that's something that should be on your mind in every episode.
Yeah.
The Covenant is just, they are on the brink of annihilating the human race, essentially. And they get really close. And it should be one of those things where it's like, if you're not a fan of Halo, right? And this is something I had actually mentioned this to someone in the comments as well. I want to talk to everybody about this stuff because the point behind it is, if you make a show like this, give the fans specific things that point back to what made Halo so great to begin with, right? Mm-hmm. Like, be accurate, because the fans of stuff that have come before are going to like that. But you also have to explain and make sense of everything for people who are coming in that you would call normies, or just the normal people who have never watched or like played Halo, read a book, read a comic of Halo, any of that stuff, right? You have to be able to do that. Again, I'll go back to Arcane. Arcane does that really well because even if you've never played League of Legends, you can watch that entire show, you understand the plot, you understand the characters, you understand their motivations, and you're getting the idea of like all of the world building, you understand how the magic in the world works. Whereas in this, it's like, okay, I don't understand how almost anything works. It's like, why does the Covenant taking such a back seat in all of this when they're the major threat? Like, that's the looming threat that's coming. That should be established because that is part of the lore and a very important part of the lore. At least
just something like 10 minutes, like 10 minutes.
Well, that's why I'm saying. That's why I was telling you before. Like, this is something that anyone who is making a show where you have, or a show, a movie, whatever, where you have this looming threat, right? You can talk about Game of Thrones. Attack on Titan does this really well, where it's like you're seeing how dangerous the enemy is compared to the people that they're fighting. It's like they're not making it so overwhelming that humanity, quote unquote, can't win, but you want to make it seem like, oh, this is not just something that they'll be able to push through and overcome easily. Like, people will die, people will be hurt, things will happen, and they're not doing that in this. It's all, like you said, it's like all this kind of dumb political drama that's going on. It's interpersonal drama with family all the time, which can be fine, and you can have that. I mean, Game of Thrones is a good example of that too, where it's like you can have that interpersonal drama, you can have that political drama. If it's well acted, if it's well written, all of that can work. Biggest problem in this is that you don't really have a lot of that. Yeah,
exactly. And I almost think too, like, they keep flashing back, and it just would have been better, instead of, man,
just talk about it.
I don't even think that they show, the clones being sent to the parents and taking the place and stuff like that. You could have easily had an episode where you showed all that.
Well, they did it like vaguely in one of his flashbacks.
Yeah, they did it
to
vaguely.
Be honest, if I wasn't already aware of that as a plot point, I don't know if I would have realized that was what was going on.
Yeah,
and that's
until they blatantly explained it in this episode. Nothing necessarily wrong with explaining some things and having exposition,
but
not at all. A lot of times it's like, I feel like that's something they could have shown rather than told you, and it would have carried more weight, because now just saying it, that emotional connection isn't there. Whereas if you actually spend time with them and see that, oops, my mic just fell.
You're good.
If you actually spend time and if you show the audience rather than having to directly tell them like that, just works out better. And again, I think you could have easily started off with, a precursor of 20 minutes. Like, I think the first episode was like 55 minutes long. Let's just say 50 minutes. 25 minutes flashback, 25 minutes what you're going to do for this upcoming season, right? And now you're pretty much done with it. You essentially have shown it.
There's ways to do it, and again, it's stuff that they've completely wasted. And again, I'm sure that we kind of feel that way because they've wasted every flashback that they've done. It's been pretty much unimportant, other than showing how much of a groomer Halsey actually is.
Yeah, and even in this one, when they do the flashbacks, everything's so fast.
Yeah, you're like, what's going on? You're right. There were a couple scenes in this where there's one in particular where Miranda was talking to Chief, and she was talking so fast, and they moved through the plot point so quickly. I was like, I don't know what they said, and I was like, oh, I should go back and check, and I went, nah. I was like, I don't care. I was like, I'll figure it out.
there was in the beginning, there was a few times I rewinded. Then after that, I'm like, I'm not doing that.
Yeah. So we gotta talk about our sympathetic female villain, whose name I honestly don't even remember.
And did Master Chief just walk into the? Yeah, her name's Mackie.
Mackie. Okay, thank you.
I wrote it down.
Okay, perfect. I'm glad you were keeping up with that.
Why I'm like, what's her name? This is one of the parts where I kept having to rewind back. What's her name again?
Yeah. So yeah, right. So Master Chief walks into the room. But here's, first of all, just real quick, hold your thought.
Go ahead.
This is an awful shot.
Yes, it is.
It's just bad.
It's just Master Chief.
They're like,
you barely see him in the room.
There's these slots in the walls. I think you can see him. Whatever. It doesn't. Oh, here you go. You can see him right here. These slits in the walls for no reason that are like kind of marking off half the room. And so they just decided, like, well, what if we just stuck the camera in between the slots, right? Which is unbelievable because there's actually another shot that's almost a horizontal of this that actually looks pretty good. That's a little bit later in the episode. And so I'm like, I don't understand. It's like, why did you guys think that was good? Because I don't know what these are. At this point, you've barely seen those pillars. And so I was like, is that a closet? I was like,
didn't even realize.
Is someone standing in the closet with the camera? Like,
I thought they had cracked open had it to like almost like a door shot.
Yeah.
If that makes sense.
Yeah.
Until you pointed that out, I didn't even realize that.
And so the only reason I figured it out is because later, there it is. There they are right there.
Yep.
So that's the camera was hiding behind those. And so you don't even have an establishing shot of the room. A good one. I'll say a good one because they're like, well, there was one. And you're like, okay, a good establishing shot of the room.
Yeah.
To explain why they were in the slits. Also, you still shouldn't do that. You shouldn't put the camera in a spot like that. It doesn't look good. Sorry, what were you going to say?
The only smart one, it seems, in the entire UNSC was the guard before he entered. I don't know if you recognized it, but he said she's one of them.
Yeah. He was talking to him, and she's like, "Don't trust her. Don't." She was,
Duh.
yeah. And everyone there, and it's still so dumb because you could argue, right, that they don't know that. They just think she's a human who was living with them, right? It's like that's enough to throw her in jail. Especially again, we're talking about a political organization, a government that is essentially run by the Marine Corps. They are military first. They should be suspicious that this woman has been and they know too.
Yeah.
She was abducted at birth, right? She gives up all this information clearly, and they're just like, well, we'll just throw her in this room and put guards outside the door. It's like,
because
no,
she
should be
all this
locked away.
Yeah.
She should be locked away with guards outside. No one should be able to actually stand in a room physically with her, chief or otherwise.
Yeah.
It doesn't make sense. The logic isn't there, and it's just like these people are so incompetent. It's like at some point, man, when it's like the Covenant really start taking them out, like Reach happens, it's like I'm just gonna be cheering for the Covenant. It's like, thank goodness.
All these characters are finally dying.
Yeah, it's like, oh, we don't have to worry about them anymore.
Oh man, and in this scene we find out that Master Chief is a blessed one. Obviously, we need to be told that because we certainly didn't pick up on that before now.
Here he is again too in his
that's just
without his black sort of spandexy Kevlar-y spaceman suit.
Here's the thing: they think the audience is dumb.
Just
straight up.
Yeah.
Like, why do we need to know? Go through the whole blessed one scene. I feel like that scene between him and her could have been handled a lot differently. If she would have been a prisoner and follow some common sense protocol there. But B, just in the hands of better writers.
Here's the other shot that I actually kind of like. I think this is pretty good because they don't stick on it for very long, and so you can miss it. But it's just very nice. You could almost consider it's kind of an establishing shot. You know exactly what he's thinking with this. I was like, okay, good job, Halo. you got a little bit, just a little bit of credit. I gotta get the little bit of like decent meat or whatever from the show if it pops up. That obviously hasn't been happening much since the start of the show, but I kind of appreciated that shot.
There's a ton of exposition in this episode, just like there were before the last episode. Just a bunch of exposition, and there's nothing wrong with exposition when it's done well. It's just done poorly.
Mm-hmm. This is an example of that because if the dialogue was written better in this, they wouldn't have to tell the audience that they're trying to throw Miranda or Halsey under the bus.
Exactly.
But they at one point she goes, "Oh, I'm the scapegoat," and it's like,
she literally
said. It's like you could have just had him say.
Literally says using Halsey as a scapegoat.
Yeah, it gets mentioned more than once. You're right. So yeah, she's having this like conversation that's kind of questioning her about her motives and all of that. And then Chief, for whatever reason, can just walk into this interrogation, right? And then you think that the captain and I don't know, the admiral, that's right, that the two of them are in the room, but they're actually sitting in this like
other room, teleporting there.
Here, yeah. So they have these. Dang, I can't find a good shot of it. I'll find it. Master Chief walks in or whatever, and just starts interrogating her about his past. This time he's not actually like trying to murder her or whatever. Which again, if this was better and he was wearing a suit more of the time, right? And you had to kind of just understand that Chief is really calculated. What he was doing would come off less like murdery and impulsive, and him being in control of the situation and
more calculated.
which is something I was thinking throughout the whole episode. I was like, how would this scene be different if Chief had to be wearing a suit in this? If he was walking around in his Spartan uniform.
Yep.
Where are the dots, man? It's such a goofy... I want to find it because...
Like a good shot of it?
Yeah, I know there's like...
You had one before. Yeah, keep going back just a little... nope, too far.
Let's see.
Keep going.
I got to be careful because I don't want us to get hit with the... Oh, wait.
We probably
there it
will.
was. There it was.
Yeah,
so,
there it is.
So they have... Again, this is just weird technology. It's like they have the ability to put these things on their forehead and essentially their entire consciousness gets teleported, projected into another room.
Yep.
But then they don't have like other modern convencences. Like it's inconsistent.
Medicine that works.
Yeah, medicine that can like help.
For bruising.
In the future, you don't have painkillers, like modified painkillers for your Spartans. Or also, why don't the Spartans have something that would mitigate the pain already, right? And in fact, I guarantee you that is a thing.
Unless it was that pill that was supposed to mitigate the pain, which I don't think they made that clear.
No, it's an emotion. It's like an emotion dampener or whatever.
Right.
That was supposed to be its whole goal. And unless that, it's stupid. Either way, it's dumb. It's still dumb.
I completely agree.
So yeah, they do this whole interrogation thing. She finally tells him the truth about where he came from. I don't know if there was anything else in that scene that was really worth mentioning. Oh, Miranda just is she's like not authorized to pop in, and she also pops into this the meeting that they were having.
I wrote that down too, but I think because of the next scene where
she's going to take over, it's probably okay. That's fair.
Because the admiral was going to allow her. I'm assuming, and again,
it was
they didn't do a good job of showing this,
yeah.
but that apparently the admiral must have talked to Miranda and let her know.
Yeah,
and then that's why she's authorized to come in or something.
Yeah, that's fair enough. So Miranda starts hanging out with Chief because they're going to start doing tests on the thing. Here's Kai. This is where he
tells Kai about Halsey in childhood.
Mm-hmm. Being groomed.
Yep.
And she has pretty much the appropriate reaction to it. So good on her.
Yep.
This is where Halsey pretty much gets told that she's gonna have to go away now.
This scene didn't really work for me.
Yeah.
Yeah. It's just like, the solution was Halsey's going away and Miranda's now going to be in control and Halsey's going to be, somewhere else in a lab working on things. And then, so on and so forth. And it's like, she still has dirt on you. So it doesn't really make sense why she would just
give up
everything at this point with what we've known about Halsey.
She even mentions it and she's almost like, well, I don't care because you will all end up in a prison cell and you don't want to be there either. So either she's just not playing it very well, or again, like nobody in this is really that smart and it's kind of poorly written.
Yeah. But yeah, it just didn't work for me. Didn't really, how they've done everything makes sense. And then this was also really dumb as well.
This is more of this dumb, like, why isn't she in a prison cell? Why is she just in here? I think the guards are just hanging out outside. I don't even know if there's one.
Well, it's not only that,
they come in, but
Miranda wants the female villain to verify her translation.
She's being so nice to her.
And it's like, all of a sudden, now they trust her. And again, it's just, they're not skeptical. They're not hesitant. They're like, no, let's use her right away.
Yeah. You would expect them to be significantly meaner to her.
Or at least, and then also has some sort of technology to gauge on her truthfulness. You know what I mean?
Yeah. You think that would be a thing.
Yeah.
But so
Master Chief continues to freak out.
Yeah, he's still having all this emotional damage, and he basically he has to go like all the way into some like pelican to get tested. It's kind of weird.
Yeah,
it's
and
like
we also go ahead. I'm sorry.
I was saying there's not a station inside like the building. He has to go all the way out to his pelican to get tested, and I can imagine like, okay, well maybe he doesn't want anybody to know, but I don't know. You could have made that work and not made him go way out there or whatever.
Right. Well, the other thing we found out is that Halsey is Miranda's mother.
Oh yeah, we finally get like legitimate confirmation about that because Miranda comes to talk to her. You know what's crazy though is I still don't think they actually. She says something about family, right? She's like, family is complicated, so you can pick up on it. I mean, most people will be smart enough, but like, there's
You
not
just need to
even,
pay attention more, David.
Yeah. Oh yeah. Thank you. There's not even a moment where she even says like mom or like Halsey mentions like her as her daughter in that entire scene. It's just. And I get it. I think what they're trying to do is show just how disconnected the two of them are. And then that scene was supposed to show a little bit of this emotional thing where it's like Halsey's like, I never wanted a family. And did she have like any sort of logical say behind why like
behind
Miranda,
that?
like Miranda exists? I didn't pick up on it if she
not
did.
that I remember. So, I mean, it wasn't that interesting. Otherwise, I would have remembered. It was more so of just, I never believed in the concept of family. And
it's like, well, then why did you have a kid?
But I am sorry that I failed you. And she starts crying, and then it shoots to this, then it shoots back, and she's taking out a contact out of her eye or something.
Yeah, she's spying on her. You know what would have been pretty good, though? And I don't think this was a thing, but part of me would have thought it would be cool if they had put in just a little bit of context that Halsey wanted to have a child to put into the Spartan program.
Yep.
Could have been, I mean, I don't know if, again, this show probably could not have pulled that off well.
No.
But just, it could have added a little bit of a layer to like,
actually,
okay, why doesn't she's like, she essentially is like, I don't believe in family. Like, the family structure makes no sense to me. It's like, well, then why did you hook up with Keys and have a kid?
And all it takes to move on from mutilating, kidnapping, murdering children, and grooming them is an apology from your mother and some tears.
Yeah.
I mean, granted, it wasn't like a, reconciliation.
Yeah.
But she just walks away after all.
Yeah. You almost get nothing of it. It's kind of like what you were saying. It's just more exposition.
Yep.
You're just getting
just
more exposition.
Seems no point to it.
So here's a little Easter egg. This is, I believe, the Spartan laser. Which is a popular weapon in Halo. So nice of them to do that. Unfortunately, and I wish they had done this, and I don't know if the color actually changed later on in the show. These are the famous pistols from Halo, and they're the wrong color. They're supposed to be silver. Now, I'm sure someone will mention in the comments, well, in this Halo game, it's like, okay, fine. They changed them later on. Whatever.
Right.
This is before that. Halo 1, they're silver.
But in the next episode, they'll be silver.
And also their silver team. Why aren't their pistols silver?
All their weapons should be silver.
Like just pure silver.
Everything should just
the
be
grenades.
silver.
She should have silver hair with her pink line. Anyway, so I don't even know
silver
if there's
tatted on her neck.
I don't even know if there's any other like actual reason for this scene. She like comes in here and she's kind of doing her snarky business or whatever.
Every time they show the Spartans, I like it. I wish they focused more on the Spartans in starting this. And
that one lady Spartan has had no development in this show. Like, she's completely straight laced.
The black dude, whatever his name is, he has hardly had any as well. It's only been Master Chief and Kai.
Yeah,
like,
so there
the scenes that we've had of the black Spartan. Great scenes, right? We've talked about it.
He's
and then
he's got that dry sense of humor.
Great.
It's like it's not as on the nose as like Drax from Guardians, but you could do something similar, right? Where it's just he's so straight laced, and Kai is like trying to open up to him because she's got a little bit more of a personality now. And they could work with that, but yeah, they're background characters for the most part. Even Kai, to a degree, is.
Yeah. And it's a shame because I feel like that's the one of the better parts of the show. And Miranda right now, I'm
pretty neutral on her.
Yeah, I'm not really feeling it. I'm not feeling it too neutral.
I want to like her.
Yes.
Right.
Yes.
But she hasn't really given me a reason to, other than she is less of a psychopath than Halsey.
Yes.
I mean, like, she's not a psychopath, right? So it's like, okay, someone competent, I guess, is taking over the Spartan program.
Yeah, it's more humane, right? Because she mentioned that line to Halsey that she did it for humanity, and then Halsey says that, and then Miranda says, "But you lost your humanity." And I'm like, That's actually the first good line from this show that, as far as like that has some depth to it, that's not humor related.
Yeah.
You know, the first good line that I've seen, I'm like, that's a good little interaction there. Enjoyed that part. Outside of that, you know, Miranda's had some good scenes with Kai, but
yeah,
you know, but I just don't. She's had some good scenes with Captain Keyes, but I'm just, you know, I want to like her as well, but because she's, you know, she has that moral side to her.
Yeah.
But it's just she's not that intriguing.
Yeah, she seems to be so far really one of the only like legitimately good characters in the show, and I mean like on a morality scale.
Yes. I think she's the only good character.
Yeah, even Chief is just making these weird, questionable decisions, which, again, if he was more calculating, I think most people would be fine with, where, you know, it's like he's willing to kind of push the line because he knows he can get away with it. Because
he's still a murderer, too.
Oh, yeah. I forgot, just like the show did.
Apparently, taking away your emotions allows you to not know what's right and what's wrong. Even on a logical sense with no emotions involved.
In episode 1 that they were just going to completely ignore that for the rest of, like, Kai or Quan Ha and Chief haven't been together since what, episode 2?
Yep.
They've had no real interaction except for that weird flashback thingy that he has on the ship in this episode. Here's who's she?
Oh, Mackie.
Oh, here he is, like fetaled up in the corner.
They're like,
because he's like
almost wanted to do a butt scene there.
Yeah, he's like, I'm hurting. Oh, and then she goes like, she says this thing where she's like, the artifact is killing you, and I'm like, what?
Yeah.
I was like, how? And that's the thing is, again, you're talking about bad exposition. She just says the artifact is killing you, and it's like you're just supposed to believe it.
Yes.
And it's like, so that's why he's acting this way. It's like, well, why is it doing that to him if he's the blessed one?
Yep.
Right? It's just weird, right? And it's a, oh gosh.
And she's telling him some truth to string him along. He doesn't know, should I trust her or not? You know, she has blonde hair, but it is short blonde hair. You know, she's, you know, is human, but she spent all her time with the Covenant.
My tummy hurts. That's what this looks like to me.
Do we have any Tums?
This is one of those
Spartan Tums.
Yeah. Oh, did I pull that? Hang on. No, I didn't. Shoot. Maybe I can find it. There's another.
That scene where he was bending over, where it almost looks like he was going to sit on a toilet.
Yeah.
Right beforehand, that should be the cover page of the
I've got a better one, but I need to pull it up. Hopefully this doesn't.
Nice, but yeah, I mean, you know, pretty, you know, uneventful conversation there. Can't exactly remember everything, but I don't think it was anything that they haven't already shown us. It was just rehashing, and that's the thing, is that a lot of this episode is redundant, rehashing things that we already know.
Oh, absolutely. Let me see if I got a pick for you. But
okay.
Yeah, you're right. It's just more of the same. This is the one I'm going to use. I randomly clicked on that before we got started, and I was like, this is going on the thumbnail. 100%.
That's too good.
His facial expression, it's killing me. Oh man. All right. So yeah, they kind of go through all that. They're getting ready to test the artifact, and then the nurse lady. Okay, this is an important thing with this nurse lady thing, right? Mm-hmm. So she's in here. They just let the nurse come in. I think the guard like walks in with her, maybe. Yeah, here he is, right here.
Yep.
He disappears later. Now,
yes, he does.
There's a moment. Let me see if I can grab it. Oh, okay.
Where? Yeah.
Hang on. Oh, man. It flashed up there for like a quick second. So he's got this like nightstick, right?
Yep.
And I'm thinking to myself, why is this dude not carrying a gun? This right here. So,
you know why, David, right?
Yeah,
it's
I know why.
It's supposed to be a flashback to when she got beat by that guard when she was a kid.
Oh, no. You can't have a black man do that, though. I mean, well, maybe you can, and I don't know.
Oh, man.
Depending on, what you believe. Whatever.
Yeah.
But he... What? Why doesn't he have a gun? again, this makes no sense. They don't know if she is, and then there's that moment, right, where was it Miranda that was talking to her about the ship, the marine ship that got attacked,
wiped out,
and she goes, "Oh, that's so terrible. I don't know anything about that." And they just like move on, because for a second I thought like, oh well, maybe Miranda's a little bit suspicious.
Yeah,
maybe she has some sort of idea, like, oh, if this girl's been with them, maybe she had something to do with that, right?
Right.
No.
Nothing.
Doesn't even.
I think this scene specifically is supposed to be a callback from her getting beat by that guard. I'm not too sure, but why she doesn't have a.
I feel like that's too clever for them. You're clever. I feel like that's too clever for them.
I would have had him take it out and do it. I told you to eat your food.
Yeah, that would have been more on the nose for this show, where the guard just starts beating her, and they're having flashbacks to when the guards are beating her as a kid or whatever. It's not too late, man. We still got 3 more episodes.
And then she pulls out her finger knife and gets him.
Yeah. So dumb, dude.
It's the completion, her redemption arc from that earlier episode. It's just that's her whole redemption arc.
And then like they're just totally fine with it. It's like, we know you murdered a nurse and a guard, but it's cool.
Yeah.
You're on our team now, right? Okay, so then, he's going back in here. He touches the artifact. They do their whole deal. They're still talking like this is just chill. Everyone's just totally trusting of what was her name?
Mackie.
And
Mackie was freaking out to the nurse because she was like, I want to see Master Chief. I need to see Master Chief.
Yeah.
I need to see Master Chief.
Yeah, the heart rate starts going up, and they both start spazzing out when he touches the artifact. He has more flashbacks. Mr. MP comes back in.
Get some Cortana action.
Yeah, she's just like, hey, I just broke the law for you. Yeah. Or whatever.
I was easily able to get past your firewall.
Yeah. So here she is, like, spazzing out on the ground. This goes on pretty much. Yep, and then
he wakes up in Narnia.
We get this really rough. I'm pretty sure this is all green screen.
Yeah.
I would.
Did you like this CGI? Yeah.
No. Also, I don't care if it's logical or not. They did a complete disservice to the fans not to put him in his freaking suit in this scene.
David.
As like a vision of the future. And he's just like, dude.
But how will we know who's playing Master Chief if he's not in his uniform?
Yeah. So he's literally having a vision of him on Halo.
Mm-hmm.
And we get a shot of it. Oh, he sees what's her face, which is like great. So she's gonna be around for. Yeah. I
thought it was like he had gotten like he somehow was projected there with her. So you're saying this is a vision of the future?
I think it's showing. I think they are being it's a projection. I think you're right. But what I'm saying is, it's like this should have had a bit of that going on, right? Mm-hmm. And I don't care if it makes sense or not. He should have been in his suit. You can logically assume why he would be in it in a vision / being projected there. Also,
on another planet.
You know what? If he was actually in his suit for more of the show, it would have made sense too. It's a complete disservice.
Yes, it is.
As far as I'm concerned. That they're just like, well, look, he's on there, and it's like he needs to be in his armor.
That's the main thing about him. But they're separate. That's what I mean. They're separating him from Master Chief too much.
Yeah. It sucks, dude. Anyway, so they go through the whole thing. I think there's actually another shot of the blah blah blah.
And he like caresses her face. I thought he was gonna kiss her. I'm like, do it to make it worse. Make it a worse show. Do it.
This looks terrible.
It does.
This is not. Have they played the original Halo?
No, they already.
And how like atmospheric the different locations are, and you're telling me you get some like grassy knolls?
They didn't do the original Halo music either, did they?
No, they have like it's like a remixed version of it.
Yeah.
Because they can't actually give fan service in the places where the fan service would make the most sense. Mm-hmm. Where you have this shot and he's in his thing, and you have the classic Halo music play. I mean, I'm giving you gold. This one little shot would have been all over the 10-second shot would have been all over the place where people are like, oh my gosh, look, they finally did it. And even though the show still sucks, but you would have gotten some good press off of that.
Yep.
From the people who were desperately clinging to this, trying to
wanting it to be good.
Yeah.
At this point, every review I'm hearing of the show, people are looking forward to next year. Like,
so dumb.
Just
I'm sorry.
barely saying like the only thing that will save the show is if they listen to the reviews and the criticisms and fix it for next season. That's it.
Yeah,
I
don't think
I think it's
people
gonna
are
be
critical.
A massive drop off.
Yeah, I don't think people are critical enough.
I don't think so either.
They might do a couple things where it's like he's in his suit a little bit more. There's a little more action, but I guarantee you, most people are like, well, the writing is fine, or they're not paying attention to this stuff.
I saw some post today on Reddit blaming the budget for why the show is bad. I'm like, nah, get out of here. Get out of here.
Yeah.
I could have written a better show than this, and I don't even have experience. Like, come on. I'm not legitimately. I think I could have written a better show than this.
So,
because it would have been just a very simple premise: Master Chief, aliens, fight, boom, big explosions. Let's do it,
dude. This is the only other shot I want to talk about.
Yeah.
I thought they were going to start making out.
I did too.
I thought they were going to start making out. This is the second time in the show where they've done something like this, because they did it with Kai and Miranda.
Yeah, Miranda.
I'm like, oh no. Why?
When he did this, I was like, please do it just to make it that much more worse.
Dude, it was so cringy. He like touches her face. She's like, oh my gosh. They're going to have their little like blessed one children now. And it's going to, oh dude. I'm telling you, she's going to have a turn.
Yeah.
It may not be this season, right? She's going to have a turn at some point. It'd
be cool if she was the Didact. The like ultimate bad guy in Halo. That's his name, I think. Didact. Halo fans will correct me on that, I'm sure. But no, she comes out to be like her whole storyline. She ends up being the librarian, the composer or whatnot, and the good one. That's going to be her flip.
I would love for the only other, they're gonna make her good.
She's gonna be what's it called, a requiem or whatever it is that Master Chief is, and her and Chief are gonna be the only ones that can like open the planet or whatever it is in order to activate the Halo rings and everything. It's gonna be both of them.
Yeah.
Instead of before it was just Master Chief.
Yeah. This is ridiculous.
Yeah. I was really disappointed when they didn't kiss, just because I really wanted that bad content.
That full cringe, that full-on cringe moment. It's just like, why? Yes. You have to almost give them a little bit of credit for holding back, knowing that it's like, well, we haven't established any sort of relationship between these characters that we want to ship.
Yep.
And it's like they can't just let Master Chief stand on his own as like the hero of the show. They gotta throw in this like counterpart. Strong, sympathetic female villain eventually turned hero. I guarantee it. And she'll be more capable than him at some point. Dude, you know how crazy it would be if they put her in like Spartan armor at some point? Where they like give her own
Master Chiefess.
They're going to give her a little like slot on her armor, right where her little laser finger thing comes out. Or that's going to like change.
They're going to amplify it and she's going to have it on all
like
of them.
Sword. She'll have a sword or some garbage. Oh, it'd be crazy.
Man.
So yeah, that's pretty much the episode.
Master Chiefest.
It pretty much ends with them going crazy, and it fades out.
That's it.
And
no quantity episode +2.
Oh my gosh.
No aliens -5.
There is
too long of an episode -15.
Yeah, I've told a couple friends that like there's hardly any action in the show, and they look at me like I'm lying to them.
There's how?
Like none.
There's none.
2.5 is what we're at, 6 episodes in. And a show that was established at, when it was a game, it was a first-person shooter where you spent 90% of the time shooting stuff.
Yeah, what it was. Okay, so let's say that last episode was 15 minutes of action. Let's just say.
Pretty much. It pretty much was.
And then the first episode was 10 minutes, right? So we've got 25 minutes of action.
In roughly 6 hours.
Yeah, it's just bad writing, man. That's really it. It's a trash show. Don't waste your time. Trust me, don't waste your time. It's a trash show. Just trash, like bottom. Like, I think I would rather watch Captain Marvel again, then
Oh,
watch this garbage.
that's the next.
At least that's only 2 hours and 2.5 hours.
Fair enough, but man, I would just rather not at all.
I would rather not too.
If I was sitting in a room and forced to,
better
yeah,
than
maybe.
this. It's better.
It's less
cinematography.
It's less time.
Less time.
Yeah.
Visual. Better storyline.
At least Samuel L. Jackson's in it.
Yeah.
That's like something. He's kind of entertaining, even though he's with the wooden plank, which, nowadays could be a lot of characters in Marvel. Anyway, Joseph, now that we're done with episode 6, and if anyone has made it to this part in the show or in the episode, what would you like to tell the lovely people where they can go and support us?
Well,
or how they can.
If they haven't subscribed to us yet, they can subscribe to us. They can like our video and comment. We love the engagement. We really do appreciate the comments, and we love responding back to everyone. It really does give us joy. But what you can do is you can go to our description, click on it, hit the direct.me link, and if you want to support us, hey, it's all fine. If you want to donate through YouTube, that's cool. We'll take it. However, if you haven't picked up on it yet, we're not the biggest supporters of YouTube, but we do utilize their platform. So the way we... Hey,
no, I'm just saying, yeah.
Sorry. I thought you were about to
Sorry,
correct me
I just won't talk
no,
anymore.
did I do something? Anyway, so yeah, you can click our direct.me link, and you'll find our PayPal donation link. You can donate to us from there. You can set up a $1 a month reoccurring donation, or you can do a $1 a month reoccurring Bitcoin donation. Not $1, but 1 Bitcoin a month reoccurring. But we also have a Bitcoin wallet address on there that you can send us any Satoshis or Bitcoins. Also, you'll find our Odyssey page. You'll find our Twitter, Instagram, and TikTok along with our email as well, and you can engage with us on those as well.
Yeah, people have been downloading podcasts for sure.
Yep.
Those numbers have definitely gone up, so that's good. Yeah, that's it for this week, guys. We got 3 episodes left. And until next time, take it easy.
Have a good one.